Welcome to episode 9 of Off the Lip, and today we've gone on to a new location at Watergate Bay as part of the English Nationals, brought to you by the Caravan and Motorhome Club. And I have a very special guest who I have got to know over a number of years at our events through Surfing England. I first met her when she was a young 18-year-old with her younger sister at the time, running backwards and forwards from the judging truck down at the water's edge, bringing paper, often trying to avoid it getting wet in the rain, to then be tabulated by one of our judges at the top. It's come a long way since then, and we use video with live heats, and we have all of our judging done through the internet. But she has moved from a runner, as we'd call her originally, into a judge, and we're going to get to know how she got involved in all of that. She's also had a fantastic career in the TV, and you might recognise her from Love Island. Welcome to Off the Lip, Lucie Rose Donlan.
Oh,
Lovely to have you.
Thank you. What a nice intro. That was lovely. Thank you for that.
I really, it was lovely that you reached out to us. And what really filled my heart with joy is that you've been an avid watcher of the pod.
Yeah, the pod has been so good. I just think it's nice to get to know like different people and just know more about each people, what they do and things like that, which has been really nice. So I was like, it'd be nice to sit down and have a chat as well.
Yeah, because people might know you from Love Island, and we'll get onto that in a minute, but what they might not realise is that you've been rooted and heavily involved in the organisation of Surfing England, which brings this podcast through. And what I wanted to bring you onto the show is obviously find out all about your career, but also whether young surfers out there that are really passionate about surfing maybe want to know how to get into that role of judging. So yeah, we're going to talk about a lot of those things, and hopefully we'll enlighten some of our listeners, and they would hopefully really get an insight behind the scenes.
Definitely, because I feel like when I first started out with all the surfing industry and things like that, I really wanted to know how you would get into surfing judging. You think it's something that you wouldn't really attempt to kind of think, oh, I'd like to do that. So I think it'd be great to talk about that.
Amazing. So I always do this with my guests when they first get on, because you are a really cracking surfer. I've seen you surf many times, and many of you that follow you see that you spend a lot of time around the ocean with Luke. And I wanted to know, where did your passion for surfing first start? When did you get the bug?
I feel like I was probably about 12 or 13, and I had a lot of friends at school and they were always heading in the sea surfing. We'd hang out at the beach and I'd watch them and think, oh, that looks so fun, but I was just waiting along on the sidelines. So I thought, do you know what, to join in with them, I'll just jump in and give it a go. And absolutely loved it. And then as it kind of time went on, my dad saw that I loved it and he surfs. So we started surfing together. He was pushing me into it more. We surfed a lot together when we were younger. And then that's when my sister learnt to surf. So we kind of did it as a bit of a family thing, which was really nice. So we'd get up really early in the morning before school. Dad would take us down for a surf at Poles F because we went to Weybridge School. And then we'd be on our way back, go to school, and he'd pick us up again after work and school. And we just used to have it as a really nice family thing. And then my mum would come and she'd come and start taking photos. And we made it a family thing. So it was kind of just something that we grew into naturally, just living by the sea, which has been amazing.
Yeah, and that's a really fortunate thing for a Cornish family growing up down here. I live in Bude and I have a family like you described, your kind of childhood. And as soon as we finish school, I'm a teacher, my wife's a teacher. It's just pile the things into, if we're going to somewhere else, but we're fortunate we can walk to our coast where we are, pile everything into rucksacks, get down the beach, and then you stay there.
Nice.
And you don't really want to come home until it's dark, do you?
And they'll remember that forever as well, your kids. It's just like a thing that you remember. You think, oh, that was so nice, like to do it as a family.
Yeah, the beach in some ways was your back garden, wasn't it? It's where you spent your time in the evenings. So you grew up in kind of Weybridge and you surfed down at Poles F. You kind of moved forward a little bit. Did you have any involvement with kind of like Newquay board riders or any of the kind of social club around Newquay where we are not far from here?
Yeah, so I just was absolutely loving surfing like throughout my school years. And then we got to year 11 and we were the first year where they said, you've got to kind of carry on your education. And I was thinking at that age, I just don't know what I want to do. So we were looking into it and my mum was so helpful and supportive of what I wanted to do. She knew that I loved surfing and wanted to make something of it, but we just didn't know what was the opportunities that were out there. So for that summer, just before I left year 11, I started to just do a little bit of surf coaching, got my qualification to be a surf coach and just did that for the summer and absolutely loved it. And then going on there, we looked into Treviglor Surf Academy. So that was still up and running at the time. So it was like a 2-year course and you learn about a lot of different things in the surf industry. And I was like, yes, that is what I want to do. So we moved over to Newquay and all the family did in the end because we just loved it over this way rather than Weybridge, because we were driving a lot to go to Polzeath, and we just think, oh, Newquay's got so much like opportunity of different beaches and breaks and stuff. So we were over here. So started Treviglas, and I did the business with the Treviglas Surf Academy.
Yeah.
So it was business, sports and travel I studied there. And it was all around surfing. So you do something to do in the surf business industry, and then you do something around travel, and then obviously sports was surfing. So you got to go surfing in the lessons as well. So it was so fun. So it's kind of like from there, I just found my love of the surfing industry and what it had to offer. There was so much more than just surfing for fun. You could go into different avenues, and that's what I loved.
Yeah, that course was so popular. Quite a lot of the Bude kids at the time were all going, I want to go and either commute down to it or find somewhere to stay in Newquay. There's now a kind of a degree-based course that's off the back of the course you did that allows people to really embed themselves with oceanography, surf business, and then obviously the surf side, because surfing now is an employable area of kind of like the industry that people can go and work in, rather than just in the olden days being a pro surfer.
Exactly.
Yeah. So you were really using, and you were kind of at the forefront. That course was quite new at that time.
It was. I think it was only going for a couple of years, and I remember like joining, and there was literally like 5 of us on the course, and it was just like so small, like a little classroom of just us lot. But it was really nice.
I think I would have done that course if I grew up in down here.
Yeah, we like bonded a lot with the teachers as well, because like they would come for a surf with us afterward, like our coursework and stuff like that. It was nice.
Yeah. So we moved to Newquay, and then I'm on the beach commentating for an event, and you and your sister rock up, and I think Paul, Jeffrey, PJ, our contest director, had asked you to come and get involved. So I think he'd been working alongside, or it might have even been Nick Rees, who was one of our original organisers of Surfing England's events. So you get the bug. There you are. Did you ever compete yourself in some of those contests in the early days?
When I was a little bit younger, I was probably, when I first started out surfing, so maybe like 14, 15, I did a couple of the contests. My biggest one that I did at the time, it was actually, I think it was the English Nationals, and I came fourth in my kind of age group at the time. But I kind of felt like so nervous, and I get a lot of the younger boys and girls, they get so nervous to like compete, and you feel like it's something you have to do to maybe get known in the surfing industry. But I found back then I wanted to surf and I loved surfing, but I didn't feel like I enjoyed the competing side of it. So when I did that, I kind of thought, do you know what, I'd like to be part of the surf contests, but not really enter them, because I love the whole vibe with everyone down here. It's such a fun day. So when I did the contest, I was like, do you know what, it's not for me. And then when I went on to do the course and things, I learned that you could become a surf judge. And I saw the course and I decided, do you know what, I'd love to do surf judging. I can be down here, enjoy the whole vibe, see everyone, feel not the pressure that I have to compete, and just be, you know, involved in some way. So learning to do the surf judging was so much fun, because I had the knowledge of that, and then being able to do the course and get a lot of, you know, experience with you guys. I started doing the running. So that's when I like reached out to you guys and said, can I do some bits, you know, around where I can help in any way, learn, and then make my way up to eventually judging.
Yeah. And that is a really, really natural progression, because not everyone feels naturally at home in a surfing contest environment. There are many people that have forged their careers as free surfers who have never competed, or if they did as a junior, they didn't like it like you describe it and it felt wrong. Because surfing for many people is their escape and their way of dealing with mental health issues that chills them out after a stressful day at work. And when you put yourself in a contest, it is stressful.
It's hard.
It's time
like,
limited.
To be able to surf your best in 15 minutes, I felt like I just wanted to surf with the girls rather than have to surf against them. And it was a lot of pressure. And I feel like sometimes you think you don't have to just do the surf contest to feel like you have to make something of yourself. You can go into other things.
Yeah. So I think at the time when you were starting your judging sort of training, does it start with a shadowing role? So you're kind of sitting behind the panel. Talk me through how the process of becoming a judge.
I feel like it's so long ago now. But
no, you still remember.
It's a good nearly 10 years ago.
Yeah,
it's just crazy. But I feel like I remember doing the course. I did a small course within Treviglas Surf Academy. We did like a 2-day course there, and then we shadow judged in some of the competitions. You kind of just volunteered to kind of do bits and pieces, and like you say, get teas, coffees and things running, learning about the computer system, things like that. So I remember doing that for a couple of contests. And then I was quite nervous to start, but Kerry, Gary, they took me under their wing a little bit and noticed that I really was enjoying that whole vibe. So I learned a lot from them, sat with them, watched what they were doing, shadow judged a lot throughout the different contests that we went around on. I even went up to Scotland on one of the trips as well and just kind of went along just to get the knowledge and stuff. And then from there, it was just kind of getting the confidence of sitting in the chair like, oh, I'm officially one of the judges today. And then once you've done that a couple of times, you've got the confidence, you know what you're doing, you know what you're looking for. So after that, like you say, Nick Rees, he said, you know, do you want to come on and do the full course so you can do your different levels of judging? So I went on to do my level 1 and level 2. And then from there, just anything that came through, I was trying to do as much judging as I could to get my hours in and loved it. And I just think it is confidence.
Yeah.
It was.
It's like learning to drive a car.
Yeah.
You'll do all of those supported ways with your learner instructor until eventually the first time you sit in that panel with your tablet in front of you and you are actually solo, it's quite an empowering thing, isn't it?
Even back then it was just the paper.
Yeah.
You just had the paper, and then now you're advanced.
We still have paper in the background, guys. Those of you that might understand, because sometimes down in Cornwall the internet drops out at random reasons. So we do have to have backup. But you mentioned Kerry. That's Kerry Powell. She's one of our most prestigious female judges in the UK. She has judged on World Tour events in the WSL, an incredibly knowledgeable judge. She taught our juniors all about priority last year with our Surfing England juniors. We've got Jem Pendlebury, we've got Jo Hillman. There's so many judges, female judges.
Yeah.
But do you feel there's enough female judges on the panel?
Never enough. Because I feel like when I first started, I was the youngest female judge in the UK at the time. And like I said, I only really saw Kerry going around doing all the tours. So I feel that's why she took me under her wing a little bit, because she saw a young upcoming surf judge and really helped me get into it. So I feel like there should be more and more.
And that's important for those females out there and young males and females. Our judging panel are an incredibly experienced judge, but the age demographic is growing.
Yeah.
You mentioned some of them. We're not going to embarrass anyone's age out there. But it's important to get fresh blood in there, because actually, if a really up-and-coming professional young surfer is competing, there's no reason why they can't learn to judge, because actually that helps them understand what the judge is looking for, isn't it?
Exactly. Yeah. And I think it's really important to, you know, get the younger generation in and learning, because like you say, even just doing the course, learning, getting that qualification under your belt, you can pick and choose then if you want to judge or you want to enter the competition, and then it's kind of fun. You kind of know what you're looking for, and I feel like it's a nice thing to learn, especially like if you feel like maybe competing isn't for you, maybe judging might be for you because you love surfing so much.
So we moved from your time with us in Surfing England as a judge. I remember watching you kind of like growing in kind of your modelling career at the time. And surfing has always had a real kind of association with young girls in brands, often for being incredibly talented at surfing, but also because beautiful girls are going to sell their products. How did you find your early career in kind of your modelling industry and the surf industry started, and how did it develop?
I feel like, as I said, I feel like I love surfing for what it is. Maybe I'm not amazing at it, but you don't feel like you have to be amazing at it. And that's kind of what I wanted to achieve, is that the lifestyle around surfing is so important, and it's so nice. You know, you can just start to learn to surf and you can be part of that lifestyle. So I feel like starting to getting into modeling and things like that, that's kind of how it led. Being, you know, posing with the surfboard or going in the surf, you can have fun, you can pose with the surfboard, and the brands that come along with it is amazing. But I feel like that is something everyone can be part of. So that's kind of where it started. It was when I was probably at Trevigla Surf Academy. I started to do some little bits on the side with some surf brands, just picking up some like little freebies along the way, and taking photos with them. And like I said, my mum used to come down to the beach a lot, take pictures of us surfing. So we kind of get that, and then come out the water, get some nice shots with the products. And it kind of led from there. And then that's when I was speaking to a modelling agency and kind of said to them, my sport's surfing, I love surfing, and I love the whole look around surfing. So I would start to work with more surf brands. And that's kind of how it all built from there, really. So quite young.
Your career sort of developed and went on its own journey through there. And then all of a sudden, I remember Lucie, that I always knew from Surfing England, and then my Instagram popped up on your profile. and it just had that multicolored background. I'm going on Love Island,
Yeah.
which no one had known about. We were all obviously, so you had to have that kind of silence contract. You weren't allowed to talk about it. What made you decide that's what the route you wanted to take to go through onto Love Island?
To be honest, it was quite funny because I remember judging one summer. It was just before I went on the show, and we were taking some pictures in the judging van, and we were like, oh yeah, someone said, oh, we're not going to see you soon. And I think someone had an inkling that they thought that I can't remember who it was at the time. And and I just thought for a couple of years, you know, being in the surf industry, I absolutely loved it. And it was just so fun. I just think it's so different. And living in Newquay, it's a small town. You're not going to find anyone really too much. And I struggled to find someone, and I really wanted to find someone that I could enjoy doing sports with, enjoy doing things. And I wanted to find someone. Yeah. So I applied for the show, successfully got on it. And I just think it was really nice because it was quite of a different, maybe a different girl that went on it that loved surfing and, you know, wanted to find love. And I just think it was great.
Well, I had never watched Love Island, Luce, until you went on the show. And me and my wife, we just got glued to it. And it was partly because of that connection that I knew you.
Yeah.
And that was, it felt like as a person that I had a connection to, I wanted to see how it went. But actually, I was drawn into the show, and it's become something that my sister-in-law, my brother's wife, she loves it. And obviously, your fiance, Luke, was also on Love Island.
Yeah.
Not the same show that you were on. Luke, he's sitting with us here. Was he after your show?
Yeah, so I went on it, it's 2019, so then we had a year, and he went on it 2020. Mm-hmm. I didn't really come out with anyone. I didn't make any connections like that too much. And when I came out, I saw Luke on his show, and I was like, he's really nice. He's a gentleman. He's really cute. And then I remember like seeing after a couple of months, he came off the show, and you know, he becomes single, and I was like, well, you know, I'm just going to slide in the DMs there, and well, you know, we're engaged.
It's lovely. It's really special. There's not like a cheeky Love Island reunion where all the old cast members come on and they're just a massive big meet up.
I know.
Yeah, speed date all around.
It's kind of nice because we shared the same experience, but we weren't on the same show. So I feel like there's not much pressure with us. It's just really nice.
Yeah. And you both moved through a similar sort of experience.
Yeah, exactly.
And in theory, if you strip everything away from it, it's two people looking for love.
Exactly.
Yeah, and that's magic that you're both there. And the wedding's coming up soon.
Yeah, next year. Yeah.
Amazing. Best of that. So you come off the back of Love Island, and at that point, you're a household name. I don't want to kind of get too excited because you are the person with the most followers on Instagram I've had on Off the Lip so far. 1.5 million subscribers.
Mad.
And that's an amazing following. And that, I think, is testament to your character, your infectious personality, and your genuine honestness.
Thank you.
And I think that's what drew a lot of people towards you. So we're back in Newquay now. You're post Love Island. You've carried on with your career in terms of working with brands and things like that. Do you... Now, obviously, I think everyone wants to get to know you and get you on their brands. But where do you kind of like see the brands you like supporting and kind of their ethics and things? Because you can pick and choose a bit more now.
Yeah, definitely. I think as the kind of industry's gone on, you kind of notice, I mean, we live by the beach. You can see the effects it has on the environment and the marine life. So I always try my best, if I can, to choose brands that are more sustainable, more eco, or in any way. And I feel like I want to push them as much as I can, because I feel like getting that kind of thing out there, that picking brands that are more sustainable and living as sustainable as you can is very important, especially for the younger generation. If there's a lot of people that have followed me from Love Island and they're a bit younger, and I think choose products that are better for our environment rather than choosing products maybe that are not so much. And that's kind of what I try and achieve now, just because our love for the ocean and things like that. So I think it's important.
Yeah, and that's good to have those ethics. You have been running, and I've been following you through your Instagram, a kind of a side part of it in terms of renovation. Mm-hmm. So you've been quite open about what you've been doing. So tell me, the audience, if they don't quite know and haven't yet started following you, what are you currently working on as this housing project that you're building at the moment?
So it's been fun. So Luke, my partner, he's got a big background in building renovations. He was a plumber. So he kind of pulled me into it a little bit. He had his own property up north, and then I bought my own property down here in Cornwall, which was always my dream. So I renovated a cottage here and absolutely loved it. And then Luke decided to move down here. I mean, how can you not look at the place?
Yeah, it's pretty dreamy.
So he moved down, and then we got a chapel here in Cornwall as well to renovate. It was just kind of a bit of a chapel that's just been left there. I think it's 150 years old. It's just kind of sat there, and Luke's love and passion came through, and he's like, I really want that. This would be an amazing project. So we've kind of started renovating that. We're a year into it, and it's been so nice to kind of like restore and renovate an old building and bringing something back to life that has just been left. And I just think there's such fun in that. And you do get a thrill from it. I feel like you get a bit addicted, because once we've done one, we want to move on to the next. So we've just sold the cottage. Now we're fully focused on the chapel renovations. So we're going to see where it goes.
I do love the fact that, like, when you've obviously got your side of your modelling where your makeup and hair is beautiful, but quite my favourite photos are often when you're just covered in paint.
Yeah, that's the best part.
Because renovation is an incredibly enriching experience. So when you turn something from perhaps ruin back to its former self. And Luke and I were talking a little bit earlier, they were going to knock that chapel down, weren't they?
Yeah,
and
they
you
were
saved
thinking
it.
of doing it. That's the thing. I mean, even when we got the chapel, they were asking, can we buy it already? Because they wanted it gone. And I just think it's so important, especially growing up here in Cornwall. Like, I'm Cornish, and you want to see buildings like, you know, get brought back to life and looked after, not knocked down. No. I just think it's so wrong. And
a chapel will have the memories of people being baptised, being married there, their services, and sometimes saying goodbye to loved ones. It's
exactly.
It has a lot of history and heritage. So you've gone from career of judge into the modelling industry, and now you're a renovator on top of it all. When we finish off, which has been an absolute pleasure to get to know you, Lucie, and our audience, is where does the future hold for you? What do you hope to achieve over these next few years, and where might your career be taking you?
I feel like there's a couple more things under my belt that I've been planning for a couple of years. I've always wanted to do this thing, and I feel like I've done so much over my career that this is the last thing that I'd like to tick off. And I feel like I learned a lot about this thing that I'd like to do at Treviglio Surf Academy and the business side. That really helped me go on to what I want to do. So hopefully stay tuned. Next year, it'll be out there.
So there's an exciting thing, top secret, but it's coming.
Yeah, you're the first to know.
Oh, that is an exclusive on Off the Lip right there. Okay, you can guess in the comments underneath. So Lucie, it's been a real treat to get to know you and get behind what you stand for, and you're kind of like wanting to inspire those people. And wouldn't it be lovely to see in the next 10 years far more females on the judging panel, young
Definitely.
Female surfers from Cornwall and further afield that are getting into what we know is a really enriching side of our industry. Yeah. And I just want to thank you today for being on Off the Lip.
Oh, thank you so much. I've loved it.
I've been running from the wind. I can feel the darkness creeping in.
I'm Martin Reay, and I'm your host of Off the Lip, brought to you by Surfing England, the national governing body of surfing in England. Thank you to the Caravan and Motorhome Club, our headline sponsor, and to Mora Media House for creating these podcasts.
You soothe my woes when the day is done.